This is Joyce
and Blake,
and welcome to
Savagely Scale
Murder Edition.
Yeah.
Episode 2.
I was like, meta.
No, I do love this one. I feel like after you started the segment and I was kind of like just listening on the back, like, okay, this is not bad. This is pretty good. And then, yes, I know I didn't vouch for it the first time around. But now that we're finding more and more crimes actually related to CrossFit, I'm like, this is crazy. Maybe we should keep looking into it because I did not realize there's a lot of murders out there related to either CrossFit athletes, owners, coach, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and I think like going on to like the athletes part of it too, because you could run out of CrossFit, but I'd be like more like athletes and people who murdered and were athletes or athletes that were murdered.
Yeah.
You know, like the biggest one that we always talk about is OJ.
Yep.
That's been done. So.
The glove. Yeah. But no, you're right. That's another big popular one.
If the glove does not fit, you must acquit.
I know.
And I was like,
it's referenced in everything.
All right, guys.
I know. I was like, that
glove did fit.
We all know the truth, guys. We all know what really happened. But yeah, that's another classic one. I feel like there's so many, but I'm so glad that at least we're focusing on at least some of the CrossFit ones first. But
yeah,
this one was another good one. This is my turn to kind of jump on in other than Blake, so we'll see how it goes. But this story takes place in Florida, in Winter Garden, Florida on September of 2013. So a long ways away, around 12 years ago. Winter Garden, Florida is known as a suburb place in Orlando. So it is kind of like, considered very safe area with a population of about 47,000 people. It is known as the commercial and cultural capital of West Orange County, which I did not know that. And it is one of the best places to live in Florida from the research that I found.
Is it like not in Hurricane Alley because it's in Orlando? Because like how
what
Disneyland
is Hurricane Alley?
Well, no, I'm getting it confused with Tornado Alley, but hurricanes in Florida.
It is pretty common out, yeah.
Yeah, like it happens every year. And I know that last year was a really big one, but like where Disneyland's placed and where Universal Studios is placed, like it doesn't hit as bad. Because I remember going to Disney World, and for some reason, when my mom and I go places, and my husband's always there now too. Mm-hmm. But when we went, he lost the keys, right?
No.
And we were at Disney World, and Magic Kingdom is what their Disneyland is called. Okay. And you have to take a monorail or a ferry
to get there.
Yeah. So you scan your ticket, and you either pick a monorail or the ferry to get to Magic Kingdom. And so when we had to leave the park to then realize that he didn't have his keys.
Oh,
and and we had to rent a car. I know this is going to be a long story on top of
No, it's
Tracy's
cool.
story.
We need the time.
And of course, we're all upset, things like that. We have security. It's a rent a car. And I'm like, shit, like excuse my French.
Beep.
How much is this going to cost us? We're already in Florida. So we're like, you know what? And my mom always has these good vibes. Tauruses, you guys, when the ship is sinking, you're like, we can bail this water. We can pail it out.
I do pride myself on that.
Which is nice. And my mom's like, you know what? Every time I've gone to Disneyland, and she's like, and Blake knows this too, and Blake's even done it. If you find something, you go take it to Lost and Found, because one day somebody's going to find something of yours. And I'm telling you, me and my mom have found cell phones, those expensive cameras, like in bathrooms and just like around. And we're like, oh shit, somebody like left this. We got to go take it to Lost and Found, because somebody's got to want it.
It's true, yeah.
Granted, nowadays people don't really care. And my husband's like, I don't know, because
like, that's not going to happen.
I got to get on the monorail. I got to do this. So we call. The security calls, because they're like, hey, is there any way you can call guest services in the Magic Kingdom? And they're like, we do have like 5 sets of keys, and they're all rental keys.
Oh, no.
And they're like, how do we know that it's you? All this stuff. And he's like, okay, I can go and I could tell you the model and the people who rented the car to us, because it had that ticket. And they're like, okay. So he had to go on the monorail or the ferry. I don't know what she picked. Meanwhile, we're talking to the security guard. I have a 2-year-old who's in and out of sleep because we're waiting. It was when Weston was that young. And my mom's just like, so what happens during hurricanes? And they're like, actually the place that Disney World picked, we don't get hit that much. So we actually still have services going while hurricanes. And then the security guard, mind you, like the security guard and all these people who take the tickets are like people who are in their 50s and above. And I was like, this is retirement. I want to retire.
I feel
here.
like a lot of people do retire and work at Disneyland.
And so,
or Dodger Stadium or stuff.
And I'm like, I want to do that. And so she's like, it doesn't happen that much. And then she named like a year. And she's like, I was actually working here, like when you're like 1970 something. And she's like, we actually had to close down. Oh. And I know last year they had to close Disney World down because the hurricanes were so bad.
It makes sense. It's like,
but they say like Orlando and Kissimmee and everything over there doesn't get hit as bad. That's why they put things there.
It's just crazy to me how I forget there's states that have crazy natural disasters and we never really feel it here because we're what is it, like a few monsoons per season, and that's probably the worst of it.
Tsunami season.
Tsunamis, man. Those things get you, man. Tsunamis are no joke. Inside joke.
All right.
But did you find the keys?
Yes. He found the keys.
So they were the right
keys. He
keys.
Came back, but it was like an hour trek, y'all.
I mean,
because you got to go check. You got to scan your ticket again. You got to wait in line for the monorail or things like that. Like I thought like Disneyland had different types of parking. You go to Disney World, you're like, this is a whole different thing.
I get nervous. Yeah. Because it's massive.
But it's so nice. I like how spaced out things are.
Oh, really? I love Disneyland.
There's like breathing room to walk around. Fantasyland, all the lines. Like the lines are inside in a lot of majority of the rides because it rains there. Like all of a sudden it'll be bright and then 5 seconds later it's like a downpour.
Oh.
And the humidity and stuff. But the lines are very inside. You go to California Adventure, girl, I've been when it's pouring and been like, there's only 2 rides that you can wait on. And they're jam packed.
Yeah,
and there's a line
in there.
And you're like, I'm in a poncho at California Adventure doing nothing.
Damn.
But their lines for Fantasyland, they have interactive lines for the kids so the kids don't get bored. And it's so nice. Yes, there's a couple of rides like Pirates of the Caribbean. We do it so much better. Peter Pan is okay. Pirates. Small World, we do Small World so much better.
Okay.
But I absolutely loved it there. And we went to Epcot, Animal Kingdom, and goals. Magic Kingdom twice. And we want to go back, but we also want to do Epic Universe.
I know. That's where I want to go next.
So that's a plan for next year.
And they just opened the Ministry of Magic too. So I'm like, I'm
telling you, that's the plan for next year. I'll give you the dates.
That's so funny how people just lose their stuff at Disneyland. Caesar did a similar thing last time we went to Disneyland. He forgot his wallet, and he was literally like in the middle of buying one of those nice Mickey watches, like the fancy ones. And he's like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I'm getting it. And then he's like, oh shit, where's my wallet? And I was like, I don't know, man. Where is it? And then he's like, no. So we had to go all the way back to the car, get the wallet, and come back. And he was so embarrassed. And I was like, dude, it's fine. Like, whatever. But
I'm not getting the watch
part of
anymore.
me on the inside was kind of like, we're missing out on an hour of rides time. Yep. Because I'm crazy like that sometimes.
Oh, and I do that too. I'm like, that sounds like a you problem. You need to go.
I'm going to get my fire flat chips and I'll wait for you next to the
thing. I was like, I'll grab a pickle. I'll go on a ride or I'll get our fast ride.
I feel like I need to half it with somebody.
No, I love it.
All right, next time I'm getting a pickle with you. You're like, get your own pickle.
I usually get it like, that's the first thing I go in, even if I'm doing a rope drop.
Not the cold brew, the coffee cold brew?
No, because you have to like walk all the way to the other land. Girl, if I'm doing a rope drop, I'm going to a land that's close so I can ride.
Knock out the rides.
Like 3 rides. But I can also grab a pickle on the way. So I'm eating a pickle like at 7 a.m. or 9 a.m.
Damn.
Oh, yeah. They're like
dedication.
One of my favorite.
Love it. Anyways,
total tangent. Go ahead.
Anyways, Winter Garden, Florida. I do not know if it is in that row where the hurricanes and tsunamis happen. But from what people say that live in that area, they say that it is considered a very relatively safe place, like suburbia. Imagine people riding their bikes down the street, like very comfortable kind of stuff. And then looking at percentages of crime there, I think they reported like the chances of becoming a victim of crime is like 1 in 400. So it's like very safe, according to a lot of residents. So when they heard about this particular murder, the murder of Richard Millsap, it did come to a big surprise to many of the residents of Winter, Florida, because it definitely isn't something that you hear about in that land, in that area. But just to give you some backstory on who Richard Millsap is. He was the oldest of 6 children. His family and friends described him as a very tall man with a big personality. He loved his family and was very motivated towards heading in the right path. He did kind of, growing up have some issues with the law, things like that, but he was trying to kind of get himself right. And a lot of people saw him as a big inspiration because of that. So people listened and looked up to him. He was previously divorced in 2010 to a young lady who he shares a daughter with. He ended up remarrying and now has a son with a second young lady called Karen Millsap. But he dedicates his life pretty much to being an athletic coach. He was the owner of a CrossFit gym in Florida. But previously, he did work as a trainer for professional athletes, including Orlando Magic's Deshaun Stevenson. So he was very involved in sports professionally. And his dream was always to open his own CrossFit gym where he, believed anyone could pretty much get ripped or at least lose a few pounds, even if they couldn't afford some kind of program. So he was a strong believer in just getting people fit regardless of what their financial place was. He was around 33 years old when the incident occurred back in March of 2013, but he did make his dream a reality that year in 2013, being able to rent a warehouse in Winter Garden to start his CrossFit gym. Overall, a person who was very adored in his community, a person who had a family, children, and being the oldest, he had a background of just wanting to take care of others and be there for people. So very, very good guy overall. And it was very tragic, pretty much what happened as a result of kind of him jumping into the CrossFit world. So let's talk about what happened on that fateful day. So on August 12th, 2013, a call came into 911 just before 7 p.m. that day where a CrossFit member of CrossFit Mosaic in Winter Garden, Florida, reported that their athletic trainer had just gotten shot in the head. According to the reports, they said that a gunman walked into the CrossFit class literally in mid-class with their hands in their pocket as Coach Richard, or the owner of the gym, was explaining the workout on the chalkboard. So the gunman literally walked past 8 people that were standing and listening to Richard in class, approached Richard head straight, muttered something to him, which witnesses reported they couldn't really make out what he said. And then once Richard realized that somebody or that the subject was talking, he turned and the gunman shot Richard multiple times in the head and upper body while everyone in the gym and class watched. So obviously everyone was in absolute shock. The murderer literally proceeded to exit the building. And one of the gym goers goes behind him, literally chasing the guy, which I thought was absolutely insane. But he just bravely goes right after this person as he's running away.
How are you gonna go after him? He's already. I
I'd be terrified.
Imagine, thinking when I'm coaching and then somebody's just coming in, and you're like,
like in a class, mid-class.
What is happening? And it's also while you're talking, I don't know,
I'd be in shock.
I'd be like, hey, what's going on? Can I help you? Or who are you? Do you need help? Can you wait? But how our gym's set up, if they came behind me as I'm talking to the board, I wouldn't be able to see them.
That's true, yeah.
But I know some of y'all would make faces.
We'd turn or something and be like, that's weird. But I feel like it happened so fast that people were probably just okay, he's just walking in and then boom. But yeah, one of the gym goes after him. Homeboy jumps into the passenger side of a silver Chevrolet Impala, along with, it seems like, an accomplice that was pretty much driving the car, and they just sped away. So right after that incident happened, Millsap's parents, who lived in West Palm Beach, got the call from their daughter, so pretty much Millsap's sister, soon after everything happened, and they headed straight to the gym right after first thing. By the time they got there, he was reported deceased, so he was gone.
You said he got shot in the head and the chest?
And the chest, yeah, upper body.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I think they said it was a total of 6 times, I believe. But yeah, it was multiple times. Investigator Sergeant Dave Clark, who was assigned to the case, just remembers getting to the scene that night and describing it as very somber because everybody knew at the moment they called that Richard was gone. There was no, that was a lot and there was no way of bringing him back. Shortly after, the police were quick on the hunt and were like, let's get a sketch out. Now that it's fresh in your memory, let's get as much information from the witnesses. Witnesses described the man as a short African-American male, possibly about 5'5". He was wearing glasses at the time and a baseball cap and a dress shirt. For 9 years, actually, they weren't able to track down the killer. So it has, and even to this day, they haven't been able to capture this guy.
Because like I'm looking at the sketch and I'm like, you can't even tell who that is. Like,
it's very difficult to say. Yeah,
like,
it's very generic.
It's a hat, glasses, and because you can't see the eyes, like the face is distinct only if you knew that person.
Yep. And I think it was like around 7 p.m. So it probably wasn't like, it was probably dark out, I would assume, possibly around that time. But yeah, for 9 years, they tried tracking him down. They asked people, like, if you have any information, please call in, like, provided everything they possibly can to obtain anything on this person. And of course, they started digging into Richard's past as well, because they're like, maybe
that's
there's
what you got to do.
Yeah, maybe there's something there. And they talked to family and friends and like looked at police records and everything. They realized in looking through court records that Millsap was arrested prior on aggravated battery charges in 2011. And then again in April of 2012 at a Gino's Pizza in downtown Orlando, where he pleaded no contest to one misdemeanor battery charge. He was sentenced to a year in probation. So he did have a past. He did have somewhat of a little criminal past back in the heyday. Mm-hmm. But again, from what his family has mentioned, like he was pretty much doing his best to just kind of go back on the straight arrow. The family did mention that there might have been possible beef with an individual years ago that might be worth looking into. However, that wasn't the first time that he has been targeted in the past. So records noted that 10 months before his murder, so this was around October of 2012, police say that someone, and they still haven't found out who, shot up Richard Millsap's car at an intersection of Kirkman Road and Old Winter Garden Road after leaving a basketball game.
I'm sorry, did those casings match the ones that he was shot with?
They did not. So several bullets did hit Richard's right rear passenger door. So here's the crazy thing. So they hit his door and window, didn't hurt him at all. But police believe that this had to have been a hit. Like, this is very specific. Yeah. Like, it seemed like they were looking for you. They're like, so there must be something here you're not telling us. And Richard just shared that he had no enemies and didn't know who fired the shots. So no one was ever arrested for that attack. No info has been requested or anything on that incident at all. So that makes me think that maybe he was hiding something.
Yeah, especially if you're living somewhere that crime is not as big. Mm-hmm. And this happened to you. You said this happened 10 months?
10 months prior to his murder. That's too close, I think.
I mean, it is and it isn't. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Because then you get shot up at your gym while you're coaching. So somebody, I mean, I have so many questions and I don't want to jump around. Like, was he the only coach?
At the time when the murder happened?
Like at the time at his gym.
Oh, I don't think he was the only coach, but at that time he was the one coaching that class.
Well, yeah. But like they had to know your schedule, right?
I'm
or
sure.
Your habits.
Yeah. I think they were watching him. Yeah. Like, again, it was probably a hit from what it sounds like. From all of the research, it seems like it was a hit. And it just seemed like Richard wasn't telling us something that we should have probably known.
Because I'm like, if now there's gyms that they're smaller gyms. So there might just be like some of the gyms have a man and wife or like two coworkers. Right. So you have AM coach, PM coach, or you just have a small one. Like the one that I had in Gallup, it was just one guy and he worked full time. So he only had the gym open for a certain amount of time to coach.
Right.
So he was the owner and the coach. So if you have even another coach, they have to know, like, is that an AM coach? Do you always coach PM?
I didn't even think about that.
Like, they need to know your whereabouts and your schedule.
About the possibility of it being an inside job too. Like, it could be possible also.
But just like them scouting the place or knowing, or people call and be like, hey, is this a CrossFit gym? Does Richard Millsap?
What time does he coach?
Yeah. Oh, what time is he coaching?
I've done that.
Yeah. There's things that can go that way. But the probability of, if he was the only coach because he's the owner, it's higher because they know, like, oh, but imagine if that person was like, oh, I just think he's there, and they walked in on a different coach.
That's true.
So, I mean, there's different things to think about of how did they know that you worked there? Right. Has the gym gotten any calls? Have you got any calls? And I know I'm jumping on your stuff.
No, you're fine. No, I love it. Because I'm like, we all want to know, girl, this is why this person hasn't been captured. That's the crazy part to me, is that they still haven't caught this guy or these people, because it seemed like, there was more than one person involved. But yeah, I guess kind of going off of that, and we can definitely bring up more questions, but I'm loving it. Bring him on, bring him on. So they did have a funeral for him, obviously, after everything happened, shortly after, back in August 19th of 2013. So a week after his death. And of course, they spoke highly about, recognizing him and his impact on the community. Many members of the CrossFit community and his gym kind of posted condolences and messages of support. They even had, I think, a fundraiser to support his family. Mm-hmm. And they even, have, a benefit wad to pretty much commemorate him as well. So,
okay.
So overall, what's next when it comes to this case? Police are kind of revisiting the case, looking at technology, looking at Richard's past. How can we identify more clues that will lead them closer? The last report that they did receive was about 2 years ago, so 2023, where police were working on figuring out, who was using their cell phones at the time of the murder and the scene, and kind of revisiting all of that. But unfortunately, with him passing away, he did leave behind his 2 kids. He left behind his wife, Karen. They're still in Florida. And of course, she kind of still emphasizing, I'm still continuing to grieve and find a solution to all of this because this person hasn't been caught. And she's like, I'm just focusing all of my energy on that. And also just transitioning towards, how do I move forward with my kids, which I think is the biggest part. Mm-hmm. In 2015, Millsap, his wife, so Karen, released Widows at Work. So it's kind of a program that helps women or people in general transition back into the workplace after a big loss. So she focused her efforts, of course, representing her and her husband, but she found kind of a lot of grace in helping other wives or husbands kind of find peace after all of that. So she connects them with resources, mentors, employers, places that can probably ensure job security, and just making sure that they have all the support that they need in order to grieve and do what they need to do. But ultimately, she's like, I trust the police that they will do their job in helping find her husband, her husband's murder and everything. But at this time, again, there's not a lot of information as to who this person was or how this happened.
Yeah.
They are asking if anybody does know anything to call Crime Line at 407-423-TIPS. But yeah, I thought this one was very riveting just because I'm like, this is one of the few instances where the murderer wasn't caught. And
yeah, especially, so this was done, the shoot up of the car was 2012. His murder was 2013. And they didn't find anything on his phone where people were threatening him or anybody calling the gym threatening.
Nothing like that. Nope.
Which is kind of so somebody just decided that they don't like you. To me,
or maybe he had a burner phone. Who knows, right?
Yeah, they usually connect something, and you have those weird things I'm being followed,
right?
To have
absolutely nothing,
to have that much confidence to walk into a job and to know that he is working and to know that there are other people there, and you just shoot the one person and go out, and then there's accomplice. To have that, to be no, it strikes me as a hit. It strikes me as something that is, somebody is not gonna not talk about that. I did that and nobody knows me, and I did it in front of 8 people.
Which makes you what made me think about that was it's probably the fear factor of people saying, if I do say something, then something the retaliation
can happen
is real
to me.
Because you said, if this person could just straight up walk into a class and do that, and I say something, what makes me think that person's not going to walk up to me and do something too, So who knows? I'm really intrigued to obviously find out what the details of that are, but I couldn't find absolutely anything on that. But they did release hey, here's the sketch, here's the car, here's the information. Please
and
put in any tips.
They never found the car.
I didn't see anything. Nope, nothing. I'm finding nothing, girl. Complete blank.
That's
the crazy part.
Did they have the license plate?
No, homeboy couldn't get the license plate in time. I should have said that. Yeah, he went chasing down, and he's it was too dark. I only got maybe one or two letters, and that was it. And yep, they couldn't get anything aside from just a sketch and then just that basic information. And that was it. And I was just like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Like that. And I wonder, like, with his wife, I know she's doing stuff to help other people, and which is really good because, yeah, when somebody passes and it ends up being homicide, murder, that's the one thing is always, well, we're going to catch them. And when it doesn't, like, how does society help you? How do people help you? And then the biggest thing is the squeakiest wheel gets the attention. So it's like on you to call and be like, have you found anything else? Like being proactive on it.
Yeah.
And there comes a point is if I'm the only one, do I stop? Does that make it worse? So there's also that because, it's usually they say you have to rule out the significant other. But if she's helping people being a widow.
Right.
I can see that. It just astonishes me, like, not knowing, like, if he was the only person or the owner and just the coach, or if there was other coaches and they knew his schedule.
Right.
And they knew that he was going to be in. Or they were just like, okay, we're going to drive by this gym every day until we see his car. Because it was like after the shoot up, did he get a new car? Because then they could be like, no, that is the same car. That's what
I didn't look into that part, but that's a good point.
There's so many unanswered questions to so little information.
Yeah. And I think that's the part that makes it very frustrating is like, there's not a lot. And, given that it's been a long amount of time, like it seems
how's
like
it going to be solved? Like all of these
like
things?
the resources are obviously not going to be there as much as they used to be.
Yeah.
Like it's really sad. And it doesn't look like like when I was looking for more and more information, like there's no updates. Everything's been from like 2015 and before. And it's just it's saddening, like to kind of get to this point and be like, wow, like, of course, I guess they're doing efforts in getting to it, but it's all very minimal. And it's just crazy. Like you said, the bravery to just do it straight up like that in the open without any kind of like fear of repercussions or anything.
Yeah. And then to not talk about it because you just did a big thing in front of people and got away with it. And that, I did, Kylo.
I know. I did think about like he was professionally working with professional players also. So I'm like, maybe something there. But
at the same time, I would go like, I can see something happening to him money wise if he was dealing, but nothing was taken from him. It was just a hit. It was straight up like this person was going to be unalived for a reason. Because it'd be different, and I'm not saying this is right in any way if that guy came in and he just decided to shoot up the place like and take everybody with him, but he chose Richard and then he walked out. And then 10 months prior was the shoot up of his car.
Right.
So it's like, well, where are these dots and how come they're not connecting, like how you said? And I could get like, well, if those casings didn't match the other casings, is it two different people, but are they
could have been hired, like just
hired for that? Is it two different incidences? Does he owe money from two different things? What is the background? What has happened to have this guy be targeted?
And then homeboy say, I have no enemies. Like,
yeah. And it's like, there has to be. And that's the thing where I'm like, did the wife not know? Does she not want to talk?
Yeah,
is that area really a safe area? Do you know other things, or
it was the wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
You don't. But I can't see it as much if she's trying to help widowers.
Yeah.
But it is. It's like, well, no, there's a big chunk of this puzzle. There's a few pieces missing. Because people just don't shoot up your car and then come into your work and shoot you.
People just don't kill their husbands.
People like endorphins.
Exactly.
People who
make you happy.
Yeah.
Happy people don't kill their husbands. No, yeah, but that's the chilling part of this case is that they haven't still found this person. This wife is here still mourning the loss of her husband, and so is her child, and just having no answers for it. And yeah, honestly, I think something's missing. I think Richard failed to tell us something that he should have said a long time ago and warned his wife or family about. And from what his family and other CrossFit members, like, no one hinted at anything or anyone being after this guy. It seems like there might be lots of secrets that he was holding back.
Yeah.
From what it looks like. And it's kind of sad that they're seeing the repercussions of it, but have no answers for it. So, I mean, if anyone out there knows anything or can provide some feedback or support on that, like, you're welcome to provide tips. But as of now, you know, like, there's not much we can do aside from provide support and condolences. And it's a wild case.
I am going to let you know, though, because I had to look up his wife. She's doing amazing things. Like, her work has been featured in Forbes, Good Morning Washington, MSNBC, and others, because she's like helping to contribute. She's also the CEO of Chief Empathy Officer of agency. Like, she is like trying to help with organizing people who have become widowed and how society needs to help them. Because she's also a keynote speaker and inspires audience to embrace compassion and empathy to help alleviate others' suffering by becoming advocates for their own advisories.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, I don't think she killed her husband if she's doing those things. But
plot twist. It was all planned.
It was all planned for this. But yeah, things are not
making sense.
Yeah, things aren't driving. I don't get it. Yeah, like Joyce said, if you guys know anything, please let us know, or like something to connect another dot. Because I don't get it.
I know. I've tried to find more and more and more and just look through articles, and it's like, man, they really don't have much to go off. I know the composite pictures just
that's
a
the
joke.
thing. Like, I was like, unless you know this person, like, a lot of people, I mean, he doesn't have a pointy chin. He has a more rounded face. Mm-hmm. But once you put glasses and a hat on a rounded face, like that part, there's no determining facial hair, no tattoo, like nothing that's really determining like the hairs in the hat. So it's not like a long haired person. It's very generic. Mm-hmm. That's just crazy.
It is crazy, girl.
I know, because Joyce was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do that one lady wrestler," and I was like, "Okay." And then when she told me this, I was like, "I've never heard of this."
Me either.
All.
Which again, maybe speaks to just how little attention it's gotten or has been.
That's the other thing. When you don't have a lot of evidence, you don't have something to push forward. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, did the detectives ask the
right questions?
Had to ask like the CrossFit people who were there, had to ask his friends, had to ask his relatives, the man had to have a cell phone, right? I mean, it was 2013. Backgrounds for that. He was the owner of the gym.
Right.
So like finances for the gym had to go through that stuff, right? I know like you could go through like the court system and he had some of these things, but it is like, who did he get in a fight with at the pizza place?
Just a random person that I guess instigated and got him aggravated. So, I mean,
but it's like, was he random? Is he part of like some kind of...
They didn't even mention anything specific about the guy that he assaulted. They just said it was a man at a pizza joint. And I was like, that's not helpful.
Yeah. Did you go to that guy and be like, where were you during this time?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a couple of years prior, but
and then why aren't you looking into that guy if he, like if you assaulted him?
Yeah. And especially if it was like, okay, that happened in 2011, then the shooting happened in 2012, the car shoot up, and then in 2013. So you can't say this could be a repeat from 10 months. Like,
honestly, now that we're talking more about it, it sounds like bad policing might be possibly a thing too. I mean,
that happens. That's why I was like, where are all these? I need more answers. Who did you talk to? Who did you ask? Could you find a police report on it?
Let me see.
So, I mean, everything's unknown. We're also very new to this. This is a different thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you guys at Crime Junkie want to help us out.
No. For real, right?
It's just so hard because you would have to ask his friends and family. You'd have to ask the people who were there. You would kind of have to vet the people who were there to make sure that they didn't know anybody or they didn't have an issue with him.
No video surveillance. It's like, what?
It's also like there was nothing leading up to it. That would be my go-to. The pizza thing, then what, 10 months later, something, or a year later, the shoot up, and then a coincidence 10 months later, the shooting, like that. The shoot up of the car and a shooting of you, that's not a coincidence to me.
Oh, let's see. It says he was charged with a felony battery over a fight at a downtown pizzeria in which he was accused of striking a patron, fighting with a security guard, and threatening to get his gun.
So Richard was threatening the security guard to grab the security guard's gun?
He was accused of striking a patron.
Oh, it's striking a person. Okay.
Fighting with the security guard and threatening to get his gun.
And then he had a gun.
Yeah.
So he's the one who did that. So you just threatened... I mean, could it be the security guard? Because he threatened the security guard? You don't have... I don't know nowadays how you have to be a security guard. Mm-hmm. But if you're threatening somebody that you're going to shoot them up...
Yeah, they just said he did community service and anger management.
What's the background of the security guard?
That's true.
Is he still working? Was he upset with Millsaps? Did he have these anger issues? Was he part of something else where their family's like, you don't mess with that, so you need to teach him a lesson?
That is true. There's a culture about that.
Mm-hmm. And it could be two different incidents where that could be, let's just go off that. The security guard was that way, and then a couple months later, he ended up, because when was that? So that was in 2011, but like what month?
For the security guard one?
Yeah.
I think they said 10 months before. That's the shot up of the car. That's October 2012.
So that's October. When was the security guard?
2011. April of 2012.
April of 2012?
And charges in 2011 and again in April of 2012. Yeah. So
but then the other
charges.
One happened in October?
Of 2011, and then the other one in April of 2012.
Well, the car shoot up was in 2011.
Wait, hold on. The car shoot up.
Yeah, because I thought you told me the car shoot up was 10 months prior
in October
to
2012.
Yeah. And then that security guard scuffle was in April
so
of 2012, or he was charged in 2012.
He was charged in 2012, yeah.
So it happened like probably a little bit prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
See,
that's pretty close.
That's pretty close to me. Like, well,
it is pretty close.
Does it say when the incident happened? Was that in November of 2011?
I don't think they gave me a month. It just said charges in 2011. And then again in 2012. So he's...
Well, you just said April of 2012. And then October of 2012.
Yeah. So then that happened the same year is what I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. Even if he was charged, like, it takes you some time to get that. Like, you're charged with it, like that ticket and everything, right? Mm-hmm. Which could be like a couple months.
That's true.
So even if it was at the end of 2012, you get charged and all you get is a hand slap and anger management. Those people could be really angry, either the patron or the security guard. Because if you're threatening somebody that you're going to get your gun because the security guard's stepping in the way, who are you threatening? That person or the security guard, or both?
That's true.
April 2012, you get charged that the people who were there that you threatened and everything are there for those to hear that or can read that. And you're able to do whatever you want now with your life. Car shooting in October.
Yep. Failed that. So now we're doing it again.
Yep. And then realizing what you have to do. Now, whether those people got somebody to do it and had to take the money for that, to me, I think somebody who was in that area or a family friend or somebody who knows the security guard or the patron, either one could have done it. Yeah. Because there was like something on like hiring people to do a hit. It's actually not as common as you think. Because,
really?
Yeah.
Well, they could trace that back to you so easily.
A lot of people do that. A lot of people just take the money, or it's not as common.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, or people are like, hey, yo, this person just paid me this money to go kill somebody.
Idiot.
And then it becomes an informant position too. Now, I don't know like with gangs or with that kind of thing, because their hits are different. It's not like, oh, you get paid for that. That's like more of like, I did it, so I move up in the ranks per se.
Right.
So it could be that too. But
Damn.
as we're looking into it, it seems kind of fishy that this happened in 2012, probably didn't go over with the people that you threatened. So then in October, this gets shot up, because it takes time to know who you are, what you do, what your routine is, and really get the cojones to shoot up somebody's car, right? With them in it.
Ugh.
Because it's another thing.
That's so scary.
Is it during the day? Was it at night?
The shooting?
The car.
Yeah, it was during the day.
So then people can see your car, you know, and the color,
The cojones, man. The cojones
and
again.
then that didn't, like you said, that didn't go over to their liking.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up being that. But to have somebody have a drive-by shooting on you and then go into your place of work and actually harm you, something's going on. So he might have not had something except for that.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't want to say
So
anything.
where were those people? Were they questioned? Were they asked where they were? Did they have
I didn't
people
find
to
anything on
validate
that.
those things? See,
that
that's
would
the
have been a
thing.
good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. See, they should hire us.
The more you know.
Mind you, it is Florida, though. I figure they
I
probably
know,
have
Florida
so many
has
freaking
lenient.
cases.
Do you know how many times that when I hear podcasts and they're like, and the killer was found in Arizona, I was like, of course they were found here.
Yep, because
Our laws are very lenient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I'm always like, that makes me feel great.
Yeah.
That makes me feel wonderful.
Yeah.
Everyone just comes over here, does their thing, and then goes.
Yep.
It is terrifying, though. I was like,
Well, I really enjoyed that case because it made me want to think and want to solve it.
I know you're like, put me in, coach. I got this. Where's the pizza guy?
It makes me want to
Where's
call
the security guard?
the cops and be like, did you talk to all these people? Yes, you're annoying. Go
Who
live
are
your
you?
life. Yeah.
Don't worry about it, but you will hear of me.
Yeah.
They call me the Ginger Snap.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, you like that?
I do.
Ginger Snap. And then click. There we go.
We
You
can
heard it
trace
here.
you.
You heard it here, guys. Ginger Snap is on the case. I
Oh,
actually do
that's
like
a good
that.
one. Yeah.
I'm like, I have to do something with the ginger hair and go with it. Huh, Jenny?
Yeah, Ginny.
Call me Ginger Snappy.
Well, yeah.
She was like, that was unnecessary. I do not howl like that, okay? Last night we were there.
Yeah, your mom knows your bark. I can't make it. Hey. All right, guys. So we are
Hyperventilating.
That was Joyce's episode on the CrossFit murders, athlete murders. I don't know.
Whatever we're calling it.
Yeah. Athletic experiences with murder. No.
Oh, well, that was a little too long. We need to find a catchy phrase. We'll
We
figure it out. We'll work on it.
do.
I'm like, I need
Yeah.
to brainstorm on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, because I've come up with the last two.
I came up with Ginger Snap. So
You did.
catch me some break.
You are catching on. Like, I'm telling you, you are on fire. Last night you were on fire.
I mean,
Today you are on fire.
I'm trying.
You are thriving.
It must be those vitamins. Not just
Your brain is like click,
It's
click,
fish
click.
oil. No, I'm just
And
kidding.
my brain is like,
It's all good. You have children and a husband. That's much more. I
Yeah.
only got these two. We don't think much, huh, guys?
But if you guys like these type of episodes, you're gonna only
Or
hear
not,
them
let
every
me
once in
know.
a while. Yeah, let us know if you're like, guys, stick
This
to
isn't
what
your
you
field.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we get it. We
That's
won't
why
get
they're not
butthurt.
coming out as much.
Yes, constructive criticism.
Yep.
Constructive criticism received.
But if you guys have a case that's dealing with an athlete, whether the athlete was connected to a homicide or was I don't want to say the solution of a homicide, or was the victim.
Yes, I was like, what's the word?
Yeah. Or was that victim of a
Or witness
homicide
or
or
whatever.
witness. Anything that ties into our athletic world with CrossFit or into the athletic universe that we know, we'd love to hear that
We would.
and try
getting
one
into
out.
it.
Yeah, we really like it.
We do.
But yeah, if you have any episode requests or anything like that, along with our Savagely Scaled, if you have episode requests about movements, about how gym etiquette is, what we should do, I know anything that you want to be requested on, even if we've gone through that episode, we can always redo an episode and go more into depth with it.
That's right.
But if you feel like this podcast is your swig of pre-workout or episode is,
That's right.
please hit the follow button so you don't miss an episode. of our original ones, our murder ones, or even our Andrew ones.
Yep. 2 snatches and a jerk. Right.
Please hit those 5 stars. It helps us. Leave us a comment because I really love reading them. We also love to hear what you liked, what you didn't like. We're fine with those as well. We need to know when we PR and when we no rep.
That's right.
And
keeping it real.
If you have any of those requests, like I said, please DM us on Instagram at Savagely Scaled or email us savagelyscaled1@gmail.com. Yeah.
And then I have my sources. I didn't mention my sources, but my sources were Orlando Sentinel, DailyMail.com, YouTube, WFTV, Wesh, Fox 35 Orlando, and NeighborhoodScout.com.
And what was that number again?
It is Crime Line at 407-423-TIPS if you guys have any information on Richard's case.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Joyce, for looking into that.
Yeah.
That was a very interesting
I try.
one. But remember, don't be a Karen.
Be a Sharon.
And keep sharing for us because it really does help.
It does.
Until
we meet
at the whiteboard again. Bye.